Come to this third webinar of the early learning course on basics of wastewater. Today we are happy to have with us and to welcome Ms. Rania Alzoubi. She will talk about decentralized wastewater management and also the link with the context in Jordan. So this webinar will be divided in 3 parts. The first part, Rania will talk about integrated wastewater management.
There's a lot of noise. Rania, what are you doing there?
There's a problem. I cannot hear you.
Okay, now the noise is gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was explaining that the presentation will be divided in 3. So the first topic will integrated wastewater management.
Yes.
General principles, and Rania will explain the different facets of the principles of integrated wastewater management. What do you mean by integrated? This is, I think, the main focus. The second part, I think, we will talk about the challenges in the Jordanian context, and the last part we'll talk about some case studies and lessons learned, and also make the link with the ACC projects. So Rania will take few minutes first to introduce herself and perhaps introduce also a few words about the projects. Dr. Ismail Baz already did 2 weeks ago, but I think it's another time to remind the importance of this project and the linkages with our the topic of our course. And then she will go directly to part 1. Rania, I think now the floor is yours. First you introduce yourself, then you go to the agenda of our webinar today. Rania, you are welcome.
Thank you, Mostafa. Hello everyone. يسعد مساكم جميعا واهلا وسهلا فيكم. Actually, I would like to welcome you all. It's really a great pleasure being here with you in this platform where we can discuss ideas, share knowledge, and improve our capacity in the sanitation sector, and specifically in decentralized wastewater management. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Rania Alzoubi. I finished my bachelor in civil engineering from Jordan University of Science and Technology in 2008. Then I completed my master in civil engineering, mainly in water and environment from the University of Jordan in 2014. I have more than 10 years experience as water and wastewater design engineer in the private, and short experience as a lecturer in civil engineering department at Al-Isra University. Currently, I am working as a technical advisor for the ACC project at German International Cooperation. Today, as Mostafa said, mainly we will talk about 3 topics: integrated wastewater management, the challenges of decentralized wastewater management, ACC project as a case study, and we will discuss the lessons learned in terms of challenges and constraints for our. At the beginning of this century, the world faces a water quality crisis resulting from continuous population growth, urbanization, increased living standards, poor water use practices, and water management strategies. I guess there was a problem with my mic because my colleague Hisham told me to change it. Just a minute. Thank you. I hope Do you think my voice will improve? Sorry for this interruption, but there's a problem with the mic.
Yes, Rania, just not to interrupt you, but you have to have the microphone, don't move it around too much, the microphone, because your voice is not quite clear. Hard to understand.
Is it okay now?
For me, it's okay now. Absolutely.
Okay, I think the microphone actually.
Yes, but because the volume is changing very, very, very much. Sometimes you are not hearable, and sometimes it's so loud that you can't be understood.
So now, is it okay?
For me, it's now it's okay.
Okay, so let us start from the beginning.
No. It's no problem.
Okay, thank you. First of all, to start at least in the introduction, at the beginning of this century, the world faces water quality crisis resulting from population growth, urbanization, increased living standards, and poor water use practices and wastewater management strategies. Wastewater management has a direct impact on the environment, disrupting the fundamental integrity of our life support system. So I guess it's essential that wastewater management shall be considered as part of an integrated full life cycle or ecosystem-based management that operates all dimensions of sustainable development. When we are talking about the all dimensions, we mean social, economic, and environmental. So that's why wastewater management presents a challenge for decision makers, and different management approaches are required, considering the sustainable management of wastewater from source to re-entry into the environment. Who are we? Yeah, Mostafa actually mentioned, Dr. Ismail already introduced us in the kick-off meeting as ACC project. So I just want to remind our participants with our project. On behalf of Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, BMZ, our project, Decentralized Wastewater Management for Adaptation to Climate Change in Jordan, ACC project, is supporting partner organizations in decentralized wastewater management. The project is carried out in cooperation with the Ministry of Water and Irrigation, Water Authority of Jordan, and Thermos Water Company through the protection of groundwater resources from pollution by raw wastewater, the improvement of sanitation conditions, the productive reuse of the treated wastewater with development of business models for maintenance of decentralized wastewater treatment plants. Our own project area, the geographical focus of the ACC project is the Northern Governorate. This part of Jordan, as most of our participants are aware of it, is affected by the Syrian refugee influx and will suffer more from the climate change. In this regard, the project aims to promote a robust, easy to build, easy to operate, proven, flexible, and sustainable decentralized wastewater treatment technologies. So how we promote the decentralized wastewater management? Actually through different activities. First one, the implementation of decentralized wastewater treatment plant and reuse systems on pilot basis for demonstration purposes. In addition to the development of the tools which will be accompanied by strengthening capacities of stakeholders in the field of decentralized wastewater management. Such development activities, it's mentioned here a group of them, the preparation of construction and operation maintenance manual, of course, e-learning, classroom trainings, or other seminars and workshops. Major outcomes of our project is concepts like the decentralized wastewater management concept, reuse, the treatment of olive mill, wastewater, and potential business models for the decentralized wastewater management. هلا, what do we mean by decentralized wastewater management? Actually, this question was raised several times in the kickoff meeting, as I remember. So it's good actually to draw the attention to the definition itself based on the literature review and our practical experience as a project. As we have said earlier, different management approaches are required depending on whether the area is urban or rural, the size and density of the population, technical capacity, level of economic development, and of course other factors. Approaches can also vary according to the quality required or that required for safe disposal. Thus, the decentralized wastewater management optimize the use of water resources to protect the environment and to sustain the development. So as per the literature, decentralized wastewater management basically is the collection, treatment, and reuse of wastewater at or near the point of waste generation. Let me repeat this, at or near the point of waste generation, because the core actually of decentralized wastewater management is related to this statement. As a project, we have our own practical experience and our own definition. Our definition for the decentralized wastewater management is to implement adequate and tailor-cut collection and treatment system in areas that cannot be connected cost efficiently to centralized wastewater treatment system through طبعا sewer network. Many reasons could be mentioned for that, such as the distance between the plant and the point of generation, topography, soil conditions, a demand for on-site reuse of the effluent close to the plant. So these are a group of the reasons. Decentralization in wastewater treatment can consist of one to several decentralized systems, from individual on-site system to a series of larger clusters or semi-centralized systems. or semi-centralized system. The classification of the decentralized management approach. However, just to come back to the practical definition of the ACC project, a comprehensive and decentralized solutions is required for any. We don't go to the decentralized on purpose. We just evaluate the options, whether we go to centralized and decentralized, then the most visible option will be selected. The most visible management approach will be selected. Shall we treat the wastewater on site level or on cluster level, or shall we convey the wastewater to one treatment plant that is located out of the city? Of course, it's evaluation process, it's engineering a project, which means different aspects shall be evaluated: technical, economic, political, administrative, as well as social factors shall be taken into consideration. Decentralization doesn't mean as an alternative for the centralized system, but it is a complementation, which means both of them, combination between centralized and decentralized, which will achieve the integrated wastewater management. So let us distinguish between the decentralized and centralized. As we have mentioned, there are different levels of decentralized approach, starting from the on-site systems to cluster decentralized approach until we reach semi-centralized decentralized system. Semi-centralized system. هلا of course, both approaches shall be evaluated from those aspects that, as engineers, we are familiar with them: technical, financial, environmental point of view. Then the decision will be made. The table here summarizes the key issues for decentralized and centralized approach in municipal wastewater. I want to focus actually in two parameters: the collection system with community participation. In decentralized wastewater treatment, the wastewater still requires to be collected, but the use of large and long pipes is avoided, as well as the related excavation works to create a more or less actually composite collection system networks, which means still a collection system is a requirement for the decentralized approach. That doesn't mean we will actually exclude this component of wastewater management from the decentralized approach. However, the diameter and the distance are much actually different from the centralized. Regarding the community participation, we need to emphasize that the cultural factors may influence the way in which people view the use of treated wastewater, and the attitude of the public health play a key role in the adoption of wastewater management system in which the wastewater is used for irrigation or agriculture, which means it is applicable in India or Africa, but doesn't mean it is applicable in Jordan. For example, if you try to convince people in our community, in our rural areas, to use on-site sanitation system, let us say septic tanks, which means they have a tank within the premises of their own property, and they have to maintain it to dislodge frequently every 4 and 5 years. Do you think our people in rural areas will be convinced actually to assure the required maintenance for such kind of systems? So if this system is considered a successful model in anywhere else, in Jordanian context, understanding the context itself is a key issue in the successful actually of the implementation of decentralized wastewater systems here in our society. Why is decentralized wastewater management is important? Here, the drivers listed in this slide show that many of the environmental problems associated with municipal wastewater could be mitigated and controlled through the implementation of decentralized wastewater management.
Rania?
Yes?
Can you interrupt? I think
yes.
Since I have some complaints from the participants, since the voice is really not too much clear, can you just talk slowly? I think for time management, it's not problem. The important that they can get some ideas. Can you just speak slowly and loudly?
Okay.
Okay. Sorry for that.
No, it's okay, actually. Now my voice is clear.
Yeah, but slowly, please.
Okay, so I don't need this. Mostafa?
Yeah, I hear you. Just go on, please.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So on this slide, Some of the decentralized wastewater management drivers are mentioned as we see: local use options, topography, water crisis, available technology, resource constraints, and increased demands. The drivers listed in this slide show many of the environmental problems associated with municipal wastewater could be mitigated and controlled and the implementation of decentralized approaches. The decentralized wastewater aimed at the development of systems financially affordable, socially responsible, and environmentally sustainable, which means bridging the gap between on-site systems and centralized systems. Okay. It wasn't actually a good start, but that's all for the first part, so we can take comments or questions from our participants.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rania.
You are welcome.
I hope, yeah, now I think we have 34 participants already following your presentation. I have to confess that sometimes there have been some problems to hear you, but at least since you have the presentation and the slides quite detailed, we could follow at least from my side and from some other participants. But I think this first part it was quite interesting as introduction part, talking about the decentralized principles and also introducing the integrated principle of decentralized wastewater management. Dear participants, if you have any comments or questions, please, this is the moment, this is time. Please just, and I can see we have already one participant. Miss Iyad, Mr. Iyad, please go on.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank Dr. Rania and everybody organized this session so far. It's very interesting. And for the voice, we can manage it. As you mentioned, all the details are in the presentation, just we follow up. However, I have just two quick inquiries. First of all, there's a table mentioned in the presentation, make a kind of comparison between the decentralized and centralized wastewater systems. And somehow it drove the trend toward that decentralization have a lot of benefits and advantages and strength points over the centralized. But in general, we cannot cancel the centralized system at all. Just I have a question regarding the case study in Jordan. What are the main challenges and let's say negative or weakening points that have been faced by the project regarding applying the decentralized system? This is my first question. My second one, I don't know if there is a kind of figure or a statistical number represent how much the decentralized experiment in Jordan will available on the other side more quantity of water, of fresh water, or at least limit the pressure and demand on the water, at least in the rural area or the north where there is a high demand recently because of refugees. And thank you.
Thank you, Iyad. Rania, you want to answer?
Yeah.
The questions?
Thanks, Iyad. Actually, I try to emphasize that the decentralized will not replace the centralized approach management. But maybe the sound, yes, I can understand it. It wasn't clear actually, and I do apologize for it. But the combination between centralized and decentralized systems are really important for the integrated wastewater management. That's why I kept actually mentioning several times that a detailed comparison between actually two approaches shall be implemented for any case, in order actually to take a decision whether to go to decentralized or centralized. That means انه يعني detailed assessment shall be conducted. هلا if you in the table I'm not actually in favor to make the decentralized more attractive than centralized approach. What I tried actually to present that decentralized is also efficient and effective solution for a specific context. Yani if we have rural areas, okay, hilly area, basically dense population and very far from the centralized system, there is a need for local use on site. I cannot actually convey the wastewater for more than actually 20 or 30 kilometers. You know what's the cost of trunk lines in this case. So it's preferable when the whole context is appropriate for the decentralized approach. But of course, if I have a village and there is a nearby treatment plant, a centralized treatment plant, I will not suggest to have a decentralized wastewater treatment plant while the centralized one is very close. So there are specific reasons, specific actually analysis shall be done for any case in order to take a decision whether to go for decentralized or centralized. So it is a complementation for centralized approach. It will never replace the centralized one, because you know what, sometimes the treatment unit rate for centralized system is really competitive. Yani if you exceed a specific number of population density, then maybe the cost of the decentralized approach will be much higher than the centralized one. So we cannot generalize the case. This is the best one, centralized or decentralized. Regarding the challenges, it is the second part of our webinar. Iyad. So we will start it within a couple of minutes. Thank you.
There is another question. Raed asked if there are some figures or some numbers regarding the situation in Jordan.
In Jordan, actually, I don't have actually figures in Jordan, but it's really a good question, because I can provide you with some figures worldwide. Okay. For example, 25% of the USA population is served by small decentralized wastewater treatment plants, mainly in rural areas or where the construction of a sewage collection system is not economically viable. In some literature, you will find 40 to 60 million of United States population are served with decentralized approach. Japan is actually in the leading position of decentralization process, where reported to actually the presence of 2,500 treatment plant. Principally they devoted to wastewater treatment and reuse in great blocks of commercial and residential building. Let me just give you, this is the last figure. In Italy, for example, 6% of the population is served by wastewater treatment, less than 2,000 population equivalent, which represents 73% of the existing Italian wastewater treatment plants. So I'm sorry that I can't provide you with figures in Jordan, because we as a project considered one of the most important projects in the decentralized approach. Of course, there are some pilots here and there, but with very actually small capacity. So we hope we will be considered one day as a successful pilot for decentralized wastewater management. Thank you.
Thank you, Rania. I think there are still three questions. Perhaps now with the Died. It's Died. Please go on. Is it that the best? Sorry, perhaps I don't pronounce the name correctly. It's that the best. Please go on. Your mic is open. Perhaps the problem with the mic. We can go to Lina. Lina, please open your mic. Demic yourself. Now
Yes.
it's okay, Lina. Go on, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Rania, for the presentation. Yes, I agree with them about the voice, but yeah, we were able to follow on the slides. In fact, I'm not sure if you have an idea about. In fact, I want to make a comment about the material of the course, Module 2. I went through it, and there was a definition of decentralized sanitation here in Jordan based on number, that it is less than 5,000. My question or my comment, why it is based on number? As you mentioned, that there's many factors that should be considered in the selection or in between the centralization or decentralization. So maybe we have more than 5,000 people, but the other factors like the topography, the financial consideration are pushing toward the decentralization. So why it is 5,000?
But first of all, I would like to thank you for this comment, because really it's also our comments on the definition of the decentralized wastewater management. That's why I prefer to distinguish between the definition in the literature and our practical definition for the decentralized wastewater management. Yes, I agree with you. It's like approach with the reference. So, for example, if you build a decentralized wastewater treatment plant for a cluster, only residential and commercial buildings, no matter how many the population are there, it's also decentralized. If you separate a district from, for example, a city with 100,000 people, it's also decentralized from the city. So that's why I didn't prefer to mention the figure, but this is what is available in the literature. You know, literature could be improved, could be evolved with time, but this is what you will see in most literature review. That's why I prefer actually to mention our practical definition for the decentralized wastewater management as a project. Wherever you separate a cluster or household level, or actually a group of clusters, zone, from completely separate centralized system, from my point of view, it's decentralized. For example, if you connect a village completely to one treatment system, maybe the treatment system is considered centralized one, especially if you can divide the village into clusters and then you build systems inside the village. But if you have a centralized system far away from the village, then this decentralized, where you connected the village to it, is a decentralized one. So it's like, you know, it's a logical definition based on the context itself. But you are right, yes, I agree.
Okay, thank you, Rania. And I think it's very difficult to qualify this. There are many criteria, but I think personally I agree a lot of what you. Perhaps we can now go to Sayed Salah.
Hi, Rania. I am Sayed Saleh from Ministry of Environment. Hello, Rania. I want to ask, in Jordanian case, what do you think? Who will operate and maintain the decentralized wastewater treatment plants, especially if it's on site? If we have a large numbers of treatment plants, who will monitor the water quality, the influence from this if we have a big amount of treatment plants and other. Oh, okay, you understand that? Yeah.
Yes.
Understand? Yeah.
Thank you مهندس ممنون كتير لسؤالك يعني really I do appreciate it so much because it's really one of our major challenges not only in Jordan but worldwide. So maybe when we discuss the challenges whether on international level or in local level we can actually raise this point, but you are right, it's really a real challenge. The operation of the wastewater management, it's still يعني under the evaluation and some proposals from here and there, but it's really one of the major challenges of decentralized wastewater management. So maybe we can discuss it in the upcoming sections of the webinar.
Okay, thank you. I have one written comment from Mr. Ali Muhammad. Perhaps I think he explained that one important factor is environmental impact assessment in order to know if decentralized wastewater treatment plant is useful. The assessment will help you to make decision. So this is the comment from Mr. Ali Muhammad. It's the impact assessment as one of the criteria.
Yes, of course. The environmental aspect is essential, actually, one for the evaluation of the system. Of course, yes, I agree with.
That I think that was our last comment from Mr. Ali Mohammed. Perhaps we can now continue with the agenda.
Okay.
Rania, I was just explaining to Rania during this discussion, the voice was excellent.
Yes,
perhaps.
I just wanted to say this because you did something with your microphone, but
I checked the device. It's not
absolutely perfect now. You're absolutely perfect now.
Okay, thank you.
Keep it like this. I'll continue.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So let us proceed to the core of the presentation. So if you missed the first part, the voice was not good, don't worry, because here is actually the core of our presentation. We would like to talk about the challenges and constraints of decentralized wastewater management worldwide. Actually, I would like to start with the first challenge, lack of management expertise. Even where policymakers accept the validity of the decentralized approach, a lack of capacity to plan, design, implement and operate a decentralized system is likely to be a severe constraint on efforts to ensure its wide adoption. That's why actually I agree with Mohandes Said Saleh from the Ministry of Environment, because really the operation of wastewater, decentralized wastewater systems is a severe actually challenge that is considered one of the main obstacles in the face of adoption of decentralized wastewater management. Even in the United States, for example, the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, concluded that a lack of management was a major barrier to implementing decentralized systems. So it is not only in developing countries. We are talking about United States, but still they have such kind of a problem, lack of management expertise in decentralized wastewater management. The second challenge that I would like to discuss is the institutional constraints. In the majority of countries, there is a lack of a suitable institutional arrangements for managing decentralized wastewater systems, and a lack of suitable policy framework that encourages a decentralized approach. So there is a danger. There is a danger that decentralization will lead to fragmentation and a failure to address all over problems adequately. So without technical assistance and other capacity building measures, a problem of institutional capacity that existed under a centralized operation are simply passed to the new structures without a formal institutional framework within which can be located, efforts to introduce decentralized management are likely to continue to be unreliable from my point of view. Not only from my point of view, but also from the professionals in the sectors. We cannot deny economic constraints. Decentralized systems may reduce the cost of investment required for wastewater management, but that's true. But the majority of local government agencies and departments lack the resources to invest in new infrastructures. And basically, everybody knows, we rely on grants to finance improvements in service provision. Actually, many developing countries lack the financial resources to invest in improved infrastructure. Here is the key challenge: social constraints. This brings us to perhaps the key constraint: the fact that there is currently no real demand for implementing effective system for wastewater management. Partly as a result of this, there is generally little willingness to pay for services. This may relate to a lack of a concern or awareness of environmental pollution and of the health implications relating to wastewater disposal and reuse. Do you think if there is no demand for the local community, especially in our context, in the Jordanian context, if you go to people in the rural areas, they have already their own cesspits, it's already infiltrates the wastewater into the ground. Do you think if you raise the groundwater protection for them, it is a real demand for them to implement the decentralized wastewater management? So if there is no real demand for them, it is not attractive in rural areas, because you cannot speak to villagers or farmers or people in the rural areas trying to convincing them with the importance of environment protection. I'm talking, of course, about the developing countries as a whole. And at the same time, the lack of government commitment to address the wastewater-related problems creates a political and institutional environment that offers little incentive to manage the wastewater effectively. In policy and regulations, there is a need to incorporate wastewater management within an integrated framework of water resource management and other services of water supply and solid waste management, which means you cannot separate the wastewater from the water from the solid waste management. If you treat water, that means there is a sludge produced. So you are talking about the sludge management. So it's part of the solid waste management. The water supply also, it's already connected to the wastewater. The consumption itself, networking itself, population itself, served people with water supply itself, it's already affected. These actually sectors shall be managed in a holistic, in an integrated approach, not to manage each sector separately. The official standards may not be framed in a way that supports the development of a decentralized system. There is therefore a need to develop appropriate standards to be utilized and construction of decentralized wastewater systems. Also to promote realistic and acceptable standard for treatment where wastewater is reused. This policy needs to be based upon practical experience and realistic objectives, and should be developed in close collaboration with organizations involved, with those communities that the decentralized wastewater systems are designed to serve. So it's not actually, it doesn't make any sense to comply the standards on the centralized system similar to the decentralized system. So that's why policy and regulations also considered as an obstacle that we should overcome in order to scaling up the decentralized wastewater management. Other challenges and constraints: the fragmentation of the water and sanitation agencies, segregation of actors between policy makers, professionals, and academics, a minimum investment in research. It's true in our societies. The stovepipe professional thinking will failures cases with the fragmentation and little information. That's actually a group of the main challenges and constraints of decentralized wastewater management worldwide. The next chapter, the next section, we will talk about the challenges within our community, within Jordan context. So that's all actually for this section. So if any of our participants would like to comment or have a question, I am ready, Mostafa.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think full of information and very, very important aspects regarding the challenges. Any questions, any comments from our participants? I have already, I think, 3 hands raised. Perhaps this time we will start with Razgar.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, please go on.
Yeah. So for the previous question, I think from Ms. Dina about the decentralized wastewater management definition on the part of the e-learning course, maybe Sophia can answer this question because it's related to Jordan and Borda is responsible for the Jordan contest regarding the decentralized wastewater management. The second one about the Rania mentioned about the rural area, which they don't really understand the environmental protection. I would like just to share my opinion and my experience in the Middle Eastern countries. We don't really prepare the people for our projects. We just jump directly to constructions and the big projects without any awareness and any social plan before. In Germany in 1998, as far as I remember, they decided to prevent organic waste goes to landfill in 2005. They started in 1998 for 2005. In 2005, they did another regulation for 2015 for 10 years. But definitely our rural area, the people who live in rural area don't understand the decentralized wastewater management plan because we have no any plan or any project or any seminar, any presentation for them. And this is the right to reject any kind of project. That's
May I comment?
Yeah, please go on.
Okay, thanks, Rizgar, actually for comment. Thanks for sharing your experience. But actually, it's not related only to the awareness of the people in rural areas. We don't jump actually to decentralized wastewater treatment plants to the construction directly. I can brief you right now how much efforts, for example, as a project in the community, in the small communities, where we decided at the beginning of the project to implement the pilots. And by the way, I'm talking about Jordanians right now. Jordanians are very aware of the importance of sanitation systems. But here in our countries, let me talk about Middle East countries, Arab countries. Basically, they want to get rid of wastewater forever. They don't want actually to participate in the operation or in the maintenance of the system itself. For example, if you requested from them to maintain any system within their own property, they will prefer to keep their own selves connected to cesspits where there is no problem unless there is a need for desludging, more than actually dealing with a system that needs a frequent rehabilitation and maintenance. Through our project, we don't jump to the construction. And maybe now when we discuss our own experience and lessons learned, you will notice that. But that's why I am telling you, understanding of the culture context itself is part of the success of modeling the decentralized wastewater management. That's why I emphasize that the successful model in India doesn't will be a successful model in Jordan. A successful model in Africa doesn't mean it will be a successful model in Oman, for example. Every context has its own specialty. And first thing, as I'm talking as development organizations, it's important, it's really important to understand the context that you are dealing with. You cannot actually generalize the same model wherever you go. We need to understand the context itself. That's why I am talking about the applicability of decentralized wastewater management in Jordan context. And if you want actually the main target of our project through this webinar is to convey our own experience to everyone who is interested in the decentralized wastewater management. I can understand your point. Maybe you have experience somewhere else, but here, understanding the context, I'm telling you, it's really the foundation of the success of decentralized wastewater management. Thank you, Mostafa.
Thank you. Perhaps we continue with Lina. Lina, please go on.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. In fact, Rania, I'm not agreeing with you with regard to the public or the social aspects related to decentralized sanitation. In fact, I have experience here in Jordan in many areas, in the Mafraq north and in Al-Karak, with a decentralization focusing on the separation of domestic wastewater into grey and black water. And in fact, this is part of decentralization concept. In fact, the people, they were very interesting and like the idea, and even they were very enthusiastic about separation and treatment of grey water and reuse it for different purposes, especially when they feel that economically would reduce the cost of the consumption of drinking water and reuse or use the treated grey water for planting olive trees, and that's of course generate income for them. So I think in my opinion, based on initially, it is not a matter of agree or disagree, but I think it is a way how to think about it. If you come to the people and say, yeah, it is from the environmental aspect, you have to protect the groundwater. I totally agree with you, especially in the rural area. They will not think about this because there is other aspects important for them. But if you start with them from the economical aspect, maybe this and will be more attractive with them.
هلا بس just يعني maybe if you allow me to ask you a question. هلا from economic aspects, if they don't have a demand means, Lina, no, they don't dislodge the cesspits they have frequently, so they don't pay a price. So if you want to substitute the cesspits with on-site, for example, a treatment that it needs frequent maintenance, like the septic tank or ABR or whatever, do you think it's attractive for them? No, they don't have a problem. This is the point. From their point of view, from our point of view as a specialist, there is of course environmental concern, whatever. But from their own perspective, there is no need. They already they have a solution for their own problem.
Rania, in Al-Mafraq, قرية الحمايدة, there was no need, and they just use cesspool and discharge their domestic wastewater in even cesspool, and so the potential of contamination is for sure of groundwater. However, when the idea comes with separation and treatment of grey water and reuse, it was very attractive for them, and even they sustained the project after ending in the fund. So I'm not trying to agree or disagree. I'm just trying to show that there is other aspects. If we focus on it, it is possible. It is not the people. The people, they can be convinced, but how? What is the key that you have to use to convince them?
Okay, but you are lucky, يعني, because we have the same experience in Mafraq of Governorate, but we have another outcomes for the project.
Yeah, I think it's a very important discussion and very important point of view from Lina, and also the answer from who's the first one who's speaking, Raskar. I think just to give you an idea about the situation here in Morocco, I think we have almost the same problem, and I completely agree with Lina when she explained that we have many tools. We have many when we go for a participatory approach with the population. We have many ways how to tackle the question. Is it from the environmental point of view or from the economical point of view? And just to share perhaps one idea here in the rural area in Morocco. I think the most driver for the sanitation are the women, and women are asking and pushing to achieve experiences, pilot projects, etc., because they are the one who are bearing all the problems of wastewater. And all the programs here in Morocco from the government agencies or from the international agencies like Gmbh, they are focusing on women, and many achievements and improvements already done, because I think the main key, is to approaching first the women. I don't want to take the.
Yeah, very interesting actually. Thanks for sharing this idea. Yeah, it's really a nice one. So yes.
Perhaps we can. I have perhaps we can now go. Yeah, sorry for this time. But I have first to go to Dima and then back to Iyad. Dima, okay. Please go on. Please demute yourself. Dima, open your mic, please. Oh, okay.
Hello?
Yeah, we hear you, Dima. تفضلي.
How you choose the treatment system for each village in the project? Or, I mean, there are specific factors for selecting the treatment system? Thank you.
Yeah, the criteria for selecting which kind of technology or which kinds of technical solution.
As I mentioned earlier, we go for low-cost, simple operated technology. So just as a brief, we will implement an anaerobic reactor, ABR, anaerobic baffled reactor, followed by actually tertiary treatment, vertical constructed wetlands. As you know, we have two pilots. In Finan, for example, the pre-treatment is a biogas digester. So the solid waste actually is disposed into the biogas just for biogas production, which is actually very minimal a quantity, but it's just as a demonstration for solid waste also management in the system. Then from the biogas digester, the inflow will go to ABR, where the most organic materials will be removed. Around 60 to 65% of organic materials will be removed in the ABR. Then from the the inflow will go to vertical constructed wetlands, where we suggest to for nutrients removal, because as you know, there is a standard and we have to comply in terms of the effluent equality. So just to highlight this point, that's why I'm telling you regulations and the standards are really a main constraint for the decentralized wastewater management. We have to design the system because we need to recirculate the quantity once more to the ABR in order to comply the Jordanian standard. So which means if we, for example, we will treat 50 meter cube, but in Finan it's 5 meter cube, then we build the system based on 10 meter cube, basically an aerobic reactor followed by constructed wetlands for organic removal in the secondary treatment and nutrients removal in the tertiary treatment. And we have a reuse demonstration for native plants in Finan Ecolodge, while in Wadi Hassan, for example, effluent will be mixed with the effluent of Wadi Hassan that goes to just for irrigation purposes inside the university.
Okay, thank you. I think it was quite forward question and also very important, and many times we will also some kind of question. I think there are also many tools just to help to make decision about which kind of solution we can, technical solution we can go for.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. I will not take a long time, just a quick inquiry. I have understand from the context of the presentation and the discussion that one of the main constraints and challenges for decentralized wastewater is that the government have a problem with managing this system, and at the same time there is a lack of information that who was or who should be responsible for managing and running these plants. My question is, in Jordan, at any case, there is experience for the contract management, what I mean that involvement with the private sector in managing the utilities, and there is experience also in sharing between the public and the private partnership, and there is experience for holding the whole issue by the government. So is the case in the decentralized system is that there is not enough skilled workers in the government to take over all the operation of these plants, or is it a matter of cost if it's handed over to a private sector? What is the main concern regarding who should be responsible for managing these treatment plants? And thank you.
I think this is Rania. I think this is very important issue. It was already raised by Sayed. This question of who is running, who is responsible for the sustainability of the system, for the operation and maintenance, and perhaps between lines we can read some kind of who is responsible for cost recovery. Is there any cost recovery system in wastewater, in decentralized wastewater system?
That's why it's one of our actually main activities is to develop a business model for such kind of systems in order to be in line with the sustainability for each system. What is mentioned by Mohandis is right. Public and private participation is really a good idea to operate the system. For example, if we establish a company that is responsible privately, it's a private company, maybe it's owned by the government in order to keep monitoring, and because of course we cannot implement these systems without monitoring and control a plan on the effluent equality. We cannot actually distribute these systems among the country and then leave it for nobody. The private and public participation is an idea. To establish also such kind of business inside the country to run these systems, it's also an idea. And I'm wondering why it is not a responsibility of our own governmental institutions, such as, for example, Water Authority of Jordan or Al Yarmouk. It's just a question. Maybe, of course, they have their own reason, but maybe when we discuss this question with them, they can explain if it's under the umbrella of WAJ or not. But at the end, for example, in Wadi Hassan, we will hand over our own pilot to the Yarmouk Water Company, the operator of northern of the treatment plants in northern governorate. It's good also demonstration our own pilot in Finan. For example, we will train the operator of the eco-lodge itself to be responsible for the operation of these systems. So maybe if you connect residential or commercial or industrial blocks to decentralized system, maybe you can hire the operator of these blocks to operate the system. So different alternatives or suggestions could be managed. But of course, if it is not decided for final who is responsible to operate these systems, it is not acceptable to implement these systems without monitoring or control plan or a body that is authorized to keep control the effluent quality from these systems. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rania. I think I have some written comments, mainly from Daid Dabbas. She or he, sorry, I don't, has a problem with the mic, but send the comments. Good afternoon. I am Daid Dabbas. It seems I have a problem with my mic. I don't think there is a problem with using grey water, but with black water. There are many homeowners who separate grey water and reuse it on site. So this is the first comment on reuse of grey water, and she explained that she agree with you, Rania, that the social acceptability of reusing. The problem is mainly social acceptability of reusing treated wastewater. And her last, her or his, is it Daad Dabbas? Man or woman?
Daad Dabbas.
Yeah.
From Bao, I guess.
Okay. I was. She explained. I was a member of the committee, standard and monitoring, and discussed several challenges associated with decentralized wastewater. It should be emphasized that wastewater is required not only for rural areas, but also in urban areas. In some cities, as my city, Salt, and this makes a real challenge as how to use this water or to storage it. Also, who is authorized to establish those technologies and monitoring issues. So there are the comments from that.
Thank you, Dad.
And another comment from Ali Muhammad. If we assume that there is a treatment of olive meal and after treatment, I think it's a very, very complicated problem, olive meals. The owner can sell the water for agriculture purposes because water after treatment contain of benefits materials. Thus, this way will encourage people to rely on decentralized wastewater treatment plant in the future.
It could be. It could be.
Yeah. I think they are the main written comments I have, and perhaps one of Ala Alzoubi also. My questions for Lina: what are the tools she used to convince the local community with this technology? Because we have a lot of experiences here in Jordan with such projects, and our first obstacles was the local community and the effects of this technology on them. So it's question mainly, or how are you approaching the local community?
Yeah, it's really interesting question. Actually, it's really very important to understand from Lina, or to share her experience, how she was able to convince the local community. Yes, if she's still there.
Yeah, I think she's there, but I think just problem of the mic. Okay. So You have any comments or Rania, or we continue the presentation?
Yeah, we continue the presentation, but really, I would be so thankful to Lina if she has shared, if she's willing to share the tools with us.
Okay.
So we can.
Lina, can you just demute yourself? Okay, now we have Lina.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lina, please go on.
In fact, Rania and I'm not sure the name of the other.
Ala.
Yes, it is just implementing workshops at the beginning to try to bring all the stakeholders. One of these stakeholders are the communities. In fact, most of them, as Mostafa mentioned, there were women. We talked about the concept of separation of gray water, domestic wastewater into gray and black water, the advantages. And we went into visiting for each home, explain the procedure, how what kind of the technology can be implemented. And in fact, for gray water, it was just very simple technology like a sand filter, and before that it was just a storage or septic tank. UASB is applied in some areas like in Al-Mafraq, and after they accept the idea and we start implement the technology at their places, went into monitoring. We went into visit for every times every 2 or 3 weeks at the beginning to monitor the performance of the units, and also to check the understanding and controlling the process according to the project objective, and it really went well. This is the way, so it was not hard for us. This was this is the experience, and in fact you can also get a good experience in this regard from the RSS, who were Royal Scientific Society. They were successful in this implementation of many projects like this, and I remember again قرية الحمايدة in the south when I visited after I think 2 or 3 years from the end of the project that it was funded by ICARDA. They still keeping the units and keep cleaning it every several months, and use the treated grey water for irrigation the olive mill, and they were happy with that. That was my experience. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for sharing. But I guess there's actually a difference between our concept as a decentralized wastewater treatment, where we have to transport the wastewater into a treatment system rather than separation of gray water. Gray water, I guess it's like a concept is acceptable, but you know what? Maybe I can proceed with this part of this webinar, so I can comment through the section on what you have mentioned regarding your experience. But really, thanks a lot for sharing. Really, we do appreciate it, Lina.
Yeah, also I appreciate the discussion. Very interesting. Yeah.
Okay, so shall I start, Mostafa, with the last section of the webinar?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we will talk about our experience
before closing.
Yeah. What?
I just explained that we will have open discussion and questions before closing today.
Okay.
Okay. Please continue.
we will talk about our own experience as a project, and what a coincidence to have it in Mafraq Governorate as where the project of our colleague Rina was also implemented. In 2014 a preliminary conceptual study was done for us as a project, and based on the outcomes the villages of Biad al-Gharbiyya and the Dejani and Rihab area in Mafraq Governorate were selected as a pilot project to demonstrate the viability of decentralized wastewater treatment and reuse in rural areas of Jordan. After the conceptual study we conducted also the visibility study. طبعا basically الدجانية وبويضة الغربية as seen in the photos, they are located 18 and 15 kilometers west of Mafraq city respectively. هلا basically the crucial point for centralized or decentralized system is the site selection. So in centralized system maybe you can acquire a land very far from treatment. That's why the community participation is not that much essential for the whole project. It's only crucial at the beginning stage when the site shall be selected. And because there is enforcement by laws, by governmental institutions, it's easily actually to acquire a land for centralized system rather than a decentralized system. In our case, okay, just to clarify this point for Lina and for our dear participants. Basically site selection was discussed through workshops, training sessions. We conducted rapid rural appraisal through Royal Scientific Society. It's part actually. It was a partner for us in the implementation of rapid rural appraisal in order to assess the needs of the community, in order to know if they really a demand for wastewater treatment system. And really, when they implemented, we were very motivated. We were very optimistic based on the results coming from the Royal Scientific Society that we will be able to construct the system based on the outcomes, of course, of the rapid rural appraisal. We actually gathered the influential people. You know, our community is a tribal community, so we also invited the influential people in both villages in order to discuss the approach. The location of the treatment plant with them, and really seems like everybody is very happy with the system. That was our impression actually. So that's why we try to screen possible decentralized wastewater treatment plant locations. Many different criteria play a role, of course, in the site selection. That's why a multi-criteria evaluation was developed from our consultant for the screening of different sites, such as surface area, available surface area, land ownership, topography itself, specifically land ownership, how much the people are accepting the location itself. Community participation was, community actually approval was part of our multi-criteria analysis to make sure the relevant aspects were taken into consideration. To avoid the complicated issues relating to acquiring privately owned land, the search for a suitable site was first focused on the public land in the villages. One public land was identified as a potentially suitable location, as there was community opposition to the use of other parcels. However, privately owned land offered the best characteristics from technical, economic, environmental aspects for the implementation of the project. As we see here in the picture, the red colors are the public parcels, and the private, the green colors is the private, where it's considered from engineering perspective is a visible option. What do you think? We actually tried in several tools to convince people to go for the private land, which is the most visible option from engineering perspective. But the social acceptance is also crucial. As we said, it's one of the major challenges that we have to overcome in order to implement a successful decentralized wastewater project. So do you think we constructed the decentralized wastewater treatment plant? We invested efforts, time, money for not less than 1.5 years in 2 villages in Margraf governorate, after different capacity building measures for the local community, different workshops, meetings. Even we conducted site visits for successful actually projects of a small scale decentralized treatment plants in Jarash, in public security directorate, in some actually examples where the technology itself is considered a successful actually model. We invited the people, we took them even to visit these sites. However, since you know that our piloting activities now in Wadi Hassan and in Finan, some influential people didn't accept the decentralized wastewater treatment approach there. So unfortunately, we move from those villages to another area. If we want to discuss major challenges and constraints in the Jordanian context, we have to start. We don't have another option with the social awareness and acceptance. Basically, a negative perception has long been shaped by failures of some treatment plants in Jordan. So the people link such kind of failures to the wastewater management as a whole. So when you discuss the wastewater treatment plant with them, they really feel worried because of the bad, of the negative perception that already they have, especially with the consequent problems like smell, like mosquitoes, and other issues related to bad operation of wastewater treatment plant. The public basically familiar with only centralized sanitation systems because they know the wastewater will be transported and conveyed to the most remote area that they cannot actually see or even concern about it. So the misinterpretation of decentralized approach also was a challenge because they used actually to deal with centralized system. Difficulty of having residential community consensus mainly on the site centralized wastewater treatment plant is also a challenge because in rural community, the participation of the community itself is crucial in the sustainability of the decentralized system. So if people are not willing to take the responsibility in the whole approach, the decentralized wastewater management will not succeed. The technical challenges. Basically, there is a lack of a clear understanding of decentralized wastewater management. There is a lack of understanding of treatment technologies that working in a decentralized context. So, for example, as a project, as ACC project, when we say close to nature systems, people start to wonder, what do you mean by close to nature systems? The absence of a trained and experienced staff for operation and maintenance of decentralized treatment technologies is also a part of the game. يعني لأنه if you design actually properly, if you operate and you don't actually maintain the system frequently, then there is a problem. The operation and maintenance is really crucial actually step in the sustainability of the decentralized wastewater management. legal challenges and enabling environment. As I said earlier, it's a challenge worldwide, but also in Jordan it appears very clearly. The existing legal framework is not conducive to scaling up a decentralized wastewater management. There is extremely stringent reuse standards, which is considered really a main challenge for scaling decentralized wastewater. Decentralized wastewater management. That's why we need support of stakeholders. It is really needed on political level to start to at least to, I don't want to use enforce people, but at least to be part of the law to implement decentralized wastewater management where it is appropriate, where is the context is appropriate for the implementation. الانتر and intra-institutional challenges here. Efficient and effective coordination between responsible governmental bodies is required. That's why we are talking about integrated wastewater management, which means coordination between the involved stakeholders is really essential. And when we are talking about wastewater management, that means we are talking about the Ministry of Water and Irrigation, the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Municipalities, the Ministry of Environment. All these governmental institutions are involved in the management. So effective and efficient coordination is really very important. There is unjustified stringent procedures, as we experience as a project with the environmental impact systems. Maybe المهندس صالح will get upset with me from the Ministry of Environment. Basically, it doesn't make any sense to comply the same procedure on wastewater treatment plant with capacity of 500 meter cube, similar to capacity of 200,000 meter cube on daily basis. But here in Jordan, we follow the same procedure. If you want to implement 500, then you have to go to the same, you have to follow the same procedure that is applicable in centralized systems. So such kind of stringent procedures also considered a major challenge in Jordan. So we come back also to financial budget allocation for decentralized wastewater management scaling up. There is absence of budget allocated specifically for decentralized wastewater management. There is lack of visible models, visible business models for decentralized wastewater treatment and reuse due to highly subsidized fresh water supply. So basically, these are the main challenges here in Jordan, but that's why I would like actually to point once more in your understanding the context itself is a milestone, it will play a key role in the successful, not only in the decentralized approach, in any actually approach presented for the first time in any community. Yani, let us just compare our experience as ACC project with our colleague Lina. We already plan in the same governorate, in Mafraq governorate, but maybe the village that we deal with it's not easy to convince them with a new approach within actually 1 year or 2 years. Maybe it takes 10 years to convince them. But the other village they were willing actually to adopt the system, to accept the system, and be responsible to operate it. That's why it's really essential to focus on this point. The question is that we can raise for the decision maker: how could we connect, not only for the decision maker, for the professionals, for the people who are living in rural areas and unserved? Okay, how could we connect the remaining unserved people, especially when a centralized management system is not visible? What shall we do if the decentralized wastewater management is not taking the real value as a complementary part for the centralized management in sanitation sector? And there is, of course, you cannot connect everyone to centralized system. It is, I'm telling you, in United States, 40 to 60 million are served with a decentralized system. So what shall we do in this situation? Just to keep it in your mind. As a conclusion for webinar, basically, apart from technical aspects, the most visible approach earlier, it needs to be identified in a detailed assessment, okay, in a detailed comprehensive study. We need to consider all aspects for any case study to evaluate it from economic, environmental, social and institutional perspectives. Then the decision will be made whether we are able to go for centralized system or decentralized. Enabling environment also is essential. Of course, understanding the culture is something crucial, but also we need to enable the environment to be capable to at least to understand what is, I'm not only talking about the decentralized only. If you introduce anything to the community for the first time, you need to enable the environment for it. In the decentralized public awareness, it's really important. The policies, the incentives, the standards of decentralized wastewater treatment plant are important. That's why they shall be revised. The identification of clear roles and responsibilities of institutions. That's what Mostafa, Engineer Sayed Saleh, me, and I'm sure everybody participating in the webinar is totally agree that we have to identify clear roles and responsibilities of institutions with respect to financing, implementing, and monitoring decentralized wastewater infrastructure. Enhancement of participatory approach is really actually important, as Lina said. Awareness raising at different levels, from political decision makers to beneficiaries, is considered a required investment in of approaches. That's it. I'm really happy actually to have such kind of interactive discussions, such kind of sharing knowledge, and I hope the presentation itself is useful for you wherever you are working right now. Thank you, Mostafa.
Thank you very much, Rania. I think it was very, very interesting, and also the last part, I recognize many cases in different parts of the world. I was working in different cases, and I think this is really a challenge. Perhaps we will discuss afterward, but now perhaps we give the floor to our participants to make their comments and or give their questions. Okay, I have perhaps someone who didn't speak so far. Oh, no, they are the same. Yeah, perhaps this time we take Arwa.
Hello. Yes, hello.
يا مرحبا عروة.
Marhaba. So I have just one question, Rania. If we go through the treatment levels of wastewater, we will have on the top of the hierarchy the centralized treatment, and then the semi-centralized, and then the decentralized, and finally the customized units. So as a chemical engineer, I am quite familiar with the different technology used in the different levels of treatment. But based on your definition that you have introduced throughout your presentation, I can't see the borderline between when we can use the, I would say, the decentralized treatment, when we will go with the option of decentralized rather than the customized units, because we know that we have in wastewater compact units that we can easily handle and manage, and we can move smoothly from one location to another, and they can we can guarantee a very good quality of treated wastewater with these customized units. So my question to you is, how can you define or identify a borderline between the semi-centralized treatment plants, which is treatment systems, sorry, which is mainly used for settlements, and then the decentralized, and then finally the customized units? And I would finally thank you for, I would like to thank you for your nice and clear presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Arwa. Thank you. Actually, I don't understand your point perfectly, but if you are talking about the technology selected for the semi-centralized or for the on-site treatment technology, it is basically depending on the required equality from the treatment plant itself. In addition to the end use of the equality, for example, if I want to only have a physical treatment where we separate solids from the liquid on-site level, then okay, septic tanks could do more than that actually on site level. If we want, for example, high quality for restricted irrigation, okay, then we need to select another technology that could comply the standards. But if you are talking about the customized unit or what package units, if I transport the wastewater, for example, on a cluster level, okay, I have industrial cluster and I need to connect it to decentralized wastewater treatment plant. To implement a sewer network for the industrial blocks connected to a treatment plant next to the point of the generation, then it's decentralized approach. Now we go beyond the approach itself. What kind of the effluent requirements? What is from this decentralized wastewater treatment plant? Shall I separate actually toxic elements and then discharge it in the existing network, or shall I have it completely treated at on-site level? Then maybe I can go for advanced treatment technology that could be constructed to comply the effluent quality that I need, or maybe just I wanted to treat it on preliminary level or secondary level, then discharge it into the sewer system. But to connect industrial blocks to a decentralized wastewater treatment that is close or near the point of wastewater generation, it's a decentralized. If you have a cluster, maybe 4, maybe 12, maybe 20 households that are located within one actually one catchment area, then it could be cluster level. For example, if you have a hilly village where the houses are distributed on a hill. Then if you want to go to, for example, one treatment plant, then you need pumping station for sure. But if you separate the village itself into two parts where the wastewater can flow by gravity into two separate decentralized wastewater treatment, then it is decentralized on semi-centralized level, because you don't actually collect the wastewater to one treatment plant. You separate it. It's like, it seems, one zone for one centralized, the other zone for another centralized system. So that's why it's semi-centralized. But the effluent quality that is required is essential for the selected technology that we have to construct in decentralized approach. For example, in our project, in Finan, we have a reuse demonstration. We intend actually to improve the microclimatic conditions in Finan, because Tofili is a desert, so we will irrigate native plants. So we will comply Class C in the standards. So it depends. But thanks for your comment. Really.
Okay, thank you. Sayyid Salah.
Thank you, Rania, for your... Hello?
We hear you, Sayyid. تفضل يا سيد.
Thank you, Rania, for your valuable lecture. I am, as a member of the Technical Committee of Water and Wastewater in Jordanian Standards and Metrology Organization, GSMO. I invite you all participants, if you have any comments or proposed amendments in Jordanian standard for reclaimed domestic wastewater number 893, please inform us, committee or me, because we will start revise and modify the standards in the couple months in the technical committee for water and wastewater. We in Ministry of Environment, as a control body or monitoring body, we follow the regulations and standards, Jordanian standards. If we change the standards or any regulation, we will follow the new regulation and standards. But we have only here in Jordan now one standard for reclaimed wastewater, domestic wastewater, reclaimed domestic wastewater. If we have, we will modify this standard or make a new standard for decentralized wastewater. It's another issue. Oh, thank you.
Really, I do appreciate your initiative. Yani, really, it's really a pleasure. I'm honored actually for such kind of invitation, because it seems like such kind of a platform could make a brainstorming for different stakeholders. So everyone could think how we can contribute in order to make such kind of approaches succeed. So really, I do appreciate مهندس صالح، مهندس صالح. بس اذا بعد اذنك تبعت لي الكونتاكت انفو على ايميلي، هيو مبين عندك على البرزنتيشن، اذا بعد اذنك. So we can invite anyone if interested. Thank you.
I think perhaps Rania, I think also one proposal from my side. Thank you very much for Sayed for your invitation. Perhaps you can share your invitation and your question either within the group, in the working group, or also in the shared course space in the e-learning platform, and this kind perhaps can generate some kind of interaction and discussion from the different participants.
Yes.
And if you want to do, if you want to also to do it individually by emails, it's up to you, Rania.
No, I agree with you. The discussion, actually, we would prefer to be on the forum, on the e-learning platform. But just even if we want to keep discussing this issue specifically afterwards. It's really, I agree with you, Mostafa. It's preferable to keep it on the website, but I need the contact info of him, the contact information of Said Saleh. I don't know if it's available in his profile on e-learning.
Yeah, I think it's already I think available in the
خلص.
people on the people section.
بس
Okay.
ممنون كثير مهندس، شكرا على الدعوة.
Perhaps we can have question or comment from Iyad.
Yes, thank you again for the interesting session. I just have a quick inquiry regarding the last question raised by Engineer Rania. She asked regarding the involvement of the local community, how they can serve the unserved people and connect them to the wastewater sewer network or system if the centralized system is not feasible. I think from my small experience with the local community, if you ask them about any of the challenges of or negative side of the project idea, they are simply replying by, it's not my problem because I am not in charge for solving these challenges. But if you ask the expert and professional on the other side, as you say, it's their responsibility to answer this question. But my inquiry is mainly, there is a lot of experience for applying a project in decentralization, whether in the water sector and wastewater sector or other sector like energy or public health or education. For example, in the wastewater, if the problem, as you mentioned, is the smell, there is odor control technology. If it's the visual impact, there is a landscape. If it's acquisition, there is a compensation. If it's relating to sabotage, there is a security system. My question is, what is the local case in Jordan? What is the main critical challenge that you face by the local community, and it's very difficult to the project management to address or to handle with? And thank you.
You are welcome. هلا actually مهندس احنا we are talking about the first key step in the wastewater management is the site selection. هلا site selection is very crucial. هلا if you, especially when you are talking about the decentralized wastewater management, then you are talking about a close place, a close location to the village, to the cluster. It's somewhere where it is visible. It's in the surrounding area of their households, but they are familiar only with the centralized concepts when the wastewater is completely transported outside of their own boundary. So if you just start with them to discuss that the treatment plant will be selected close to your village, close, not inside your village, not close to your home. It was between the two villages. If you see, actually, I can just show you where is the location. It was like between the two villages. Here, البويضة الغربية on the right, الدجانية on the left. And they insist not to accept it close. But you know what? They didn't mind during the training, workshops, site visits to convince us to go for another parcel, which is the public one. You know what was this land? It was a mountain. They wanted us to build the system on a mountain, because they want to get rid of the wastewater location, treatment plant location, as much as they can. The site selection is crucial for the community itself, because let us be frank, what's the main reason for that? Because they know, and it's true, when you acquire the land, the surrounding land's cost will be actually reduced, because now this land is next to treatment plant, and people are aware of that. And how do you think they will accept actually to or to construct a treatment plant in their land, the prices for their own lands, and you can tell them we will protect the groundwater? They will not accept it. They will not accept it unless they have a real demand, unless they pay on weekly, on daily, on monthly basis for the on cesspits. And where you can find such kind of problems, if you go to mountains, when the cesspits, the flow in the cesspits cannot infiltrate in the soil. It will not infiltrate because it's rocky soil. So then the people, they have to discharge on cesspits frequently. So if you offer them a decentralized wastewater management, they will think about it. They will think about it. So that's why I am telling you it's in the first step and it stopped there in the site selection. Thank you.
Yeah, I think now the last question or comment is running, and the last comment from our colleague Razgar.
So as I understood from Rania, they couldn't implement the project in these villages because of the social acceptance. And Rania, what do you think to solve the problem now? I think they now infiltrate the wastewater into groundwater. And at the last seconds before I start, you mentioned that the water doesn't infiltrate into groundwater or something like this. Do you think is it feasible to construct from economic point of view uh, to build a decentralized wastewater treatment plant and not public sewage network, like to transport to dislodge with exhausted truck and transport the wastewater to the decentralized station. I don't know how many buildings and how would be the size of septic tank, but I mean, like, do you have any recommendation to solve their problem without to build a sewage network and then transport the water to the decentralized treatment plant?
Yep. Mustafa?
Yeah, I hear you.
Ruzgar, actually, I couldn't hear you well because your voice was coming and going. But what I think about you is what I think I understood. Maybe Mustafa, you can correct me. You know, what's my recommendation regarding the social acceptance? Okay.
Exactly. That's it.
Okay.
Generally speaking.
Okay. From my point of view. Everything could be actually could be improved through a constant practice. If we, for example, if we implement a decentralized wastewater treatment plan, a little, I'm not talking about a remote location. If I constructed a treatment plant that is close, but not at the village, and I actually design it well, operate it well, maintain it well, then I will present a successful model for this approach to other villages. But if we keep implementing systems that has failures in operation, failures in design capacity, failures in whatever, then how you can convince people from the beginning that this system will function? So at the beginning, maybe we took it far away from the village. Then the next village, when we decide to implement this system, we can actually negotiate with them that the system could be much closer to you than that one, because they will notice there is no smell. In addition, if people in rural areas get benefits from the treated effluent, they can rethink about it. Treated effluent could not be actually promoted first of all to restricted or unrestricted vegetables or fruit trees. Maybe we can work on the green areas. Yani, most of Jordan are desert. So what's the problem actually to at least promote the decentralized from increasing the green areas perspectives? For example, if they have public lands or native trees in the area, if you increase the green areas for the people, the landscaping, I am sure people will rethink about it, but they have to get benefits from the service itself, especially if they don't have a problem, if they don't have a demand. We need to motivate them through incentives, whether aesthetic actually incentives or agriculture aspects or landscaping or whatever. So yani we need, by the way, every village in Jordan, I am sure every village needs to be motivated in a way that is different from another village. So coming back to the same point, we will understand the village, trying to motivate them, providing them with a successful models for treatment systems. So people, when you raise the treatment, they don't get actually insane when for the site selection of the treatment system. Starting with the priorities. For example, if I want to select a project area, why shall I go at the beginning of decentralized approach to rural areas where there is no demand? Let me, from a planning perspective, that's what I'm talking. The main challenge is lack of management expertise. Let me actually go to rural areas where there is a demand. And of course, in Jordan, there is a demand for sanitation services. In Jerash, for example, in Ajloun, for example. If I start with those villages, then at least half a way is already crossed. But if I go to at the beginning of the approach itself to villages where there is no need, then yani, it will happen. It will repeat the same experience as we have as SCC project. And I hope that my answer will help. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rania. I think that was not only an answer to Razgar, but I think it was some kind of conclusion of your your presentation. It was very well explained.
That means the question is interesting, motivating.
Yeah. At least from my side, perhaps I have to conclude with this. It was very interesting presentation and also very interesting discussion from different comments and the question from our participants. At least on myself, I have to say that from my point of view, and perhaps our participants will share this opinion, I think the lessons learned from this presentation and also from the case studies, that decentralized wastewater approach, I think it needs a holistic approach. It should consider different aspects, not only technical considerations, but also institutional setup, the financial aspects, also regarding the first investment, and also for operation and maintenance. And also very important is all the approach and all the participatory approach for the social acceptance, and also environmental aspects. And also I was thinking about one concept when you were explaining. It's what we call the social marketing. The social marketing, when approaching the local population and also the communities, we should consider not only the demand but also the offer, and how fulfill the offer and the demand side, and also considering the gender approach. I think it's holistic approach, and according to each case, we need to see what are the priorities, what are the each case. It's case by, for me it's case by case. We don't have a ready solution for all, or the solution fits all. I think we have to consider case by case. And perhaps regarding my opinion, I think I don't. For me, it's not important what to call it centralized, semi-decentralized, or decentralized. We need efficient, effective, and accepted solutions for sanitation in different areas. At least this is the conclusion from my side. Thank you very much. I think it was very constructive. I still have comments from different participants, but sorry, I think we will share it in written format. We will forward this to Rania. Perhaps she can explain or give some answers to, I think there are 4 or 5 remaining. But I think we have to close. Thank you very much for your participation and for your involvement and for your all you sharing your ideas and your comments. thank you very much, Rania, for the comprehensive presentation from different point of view, and I let you give your conclusion.
Thank you, Mostafa. Really, we do appreciate the extra time that you have given to us, and we really thank our own. شكرا كثير لوقتكم، وعن جد بتنورونا انتم بالاي ليرنينج بلاتفورم. يعطيكم الف عافيه، ونتمنى نضلنا دائما على تواصل حتى نحسن ال existing situation in Jordan as much as we can in sanitation and water system. So thank you all. It's really a pleasure for being here today. Thanks for your time. وإن شاء الله هيك بنلتقي وبنضل دائما على تواصل. يعطيكم ألف عافية. شكرا مصطفى.
شكرا. See you next week. Dirk, thank you very much also for supporting us and for bearing us for all this time.
Actually, I would like to thank him as well. Thank you, Dirk.
No problem. You're welcome. And thank you for this interesting presentation. It was very nice indeed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, dear all, and we'll close now.
Okay. See you next week. Then keep well, and كل عام وانتم بخير شهر رمضان إن شاء الله in 2 weeks I think.
إن شاء الله. كل عام وأنت بخير. كل عام وأنت بخير. كل عام وأنتم جميعا بألف خير يا رب.
يلا السلام عليكم.
باي باي. وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.